Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Tuesday, February 8, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome Tony Lima. He is the CEO of SunServe, one of Florida's most important service organizations, now celebrating 20 years of providing the gold standard in LGBTQ plus competent mental health care, life coaching, case management, housing, and social services for youths, adults, and seniors. He is a long-time South Florida LGBTQ plus activist, media commentator, and political advocate. Good evening, Tony.
That's a really good bio. Wow. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Al.
I can't wait to hear it again next time.
Right? I can't wait to hear it again, too. I'm so excited to be here with all of you tonight, and I'm especially excited because I'm joined by one of my amazing team members at SunServe that you'll meet shortly. With that, let's welcome anchor Glen Weinzimer, founder of the Smart Ride, the second largest AIDS bicycle ride in the country.
You're never going to get my name.
I'm never going to get your name right. And the only one of its size to donate 100% of the funds raised to AIDS service organizations. He also owns Bona Italian Restaurant, where they celebrate Give Back Mondays, offering a portion of all sales to a different charity each week. Oftentimes it's SunServe. So good evening, and thank you for that, Glenn.
It was only once, and you're welcome.
It's been several times since I've been there.
Several times, and you're right. And it's great to be back with all of you friendly faces.
And I'll learn to say your name at some point. It's coming.
It's okay. We'll find a way to get back at you. Okay, let's welcome anchor Sobourney Barnes, a true South Florida native. Shocking, ain't it? Born and raised in Broward County to parents who found joy in public service. Is it any surprise she began working at SunServe,
Yay!
a local nonprofit agency that serves the LGBTQIA plus community? A graduate of Florida Atlantic University, Bachelor of Social Work, and Florida International University, Master of Marketing, Sobourney has been an advocate for LGBTQIA plus youth for almost a decade through her work at SunServe. Welcome, Sobourney.
I cannot hold it together doing bio. Thank you so much, Glenn. And thank you all for having me here tonight. I'm so excited and so honored to be a part of this and just to do the things. So let's get started. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College, another one of my alma maters, just so you know.
Excellent.
Yes.
We'll add that in.
Yes?
Yes, I said yes.
We'll add that into your bio next time.
Okay, right.
Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Tai.
Good evening, and I'm hoping you weren't in one of my classes because that would just be weird. Yeah. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, February 8th.
We begin by queering up the USA. A Kentucky city votes against LGBTQ plus rights ordinance. On Monday, the City Commission of Union, Kentucky voted against a proposed LGBTQ plus rights ordinance. The ordinance would protect LGBTQ plus individuals from discrimination in housing, employment, and public establishments. Commissioner Brian Garner, who proposed the ordinance, was the only one who voted for it. Mayor Larry Solomon and Commissioners Eric Delaney and Jeremy Ramage voted against it. Chris Hartman, Executive Director of the Fairness Campaign, which promotes fairness ordinances across Kentucky, described the vote as, well, you got it, sad and disheartening, but said he doesn't think this is the end of fairness discussions in Union. Hartman said this is the first time he's seen a local Republican Party put out an official statement against fairness ordinances, and he thinks pressure from the Boone County Republican Party led to the commissioner's votes against it. Wow.
Well, so in the article, as I was reading it, one of the commissioners actually abstained from the vote, and I think that's even worse than voting against it, because you're basically saying, I don't have the balls to take an opinion on this, or I'm just waiting for someone to scratch my back later in the political season.
Or scratch something.
Yeah.
He said no matter which way he voted, he was going to upset somebody, so he chose not to vote.
Right.
So you don't know what his opinion is.
And this isn't a coincidence. These kinds of bills are popping up at the local level, left and right. This is all part of a greater conservative agenda to fight against all of the rights and the protections that we have currently. So Boone County is not going to be the only county pushing this into their municipalities. We're going to see a lot more of this happening in the next several months.
You know, Sobourney, I want to ask specifically you. I mean, you're in the triple check box of the need for local ordinance protection. You're a woman, you're Black, and you're lesbian. What do you think when a city commission says, wait, you're not important enough to protect? Because that's in essence what they're saying.
Well, first, of course, more queer demisexual than lesbian. But
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
No,
Okay.
it's upsetting because literally you're targeting minority communities, and it's like, what for? Why are you further demonizing us? Why is it that we're not afforded the same protections? I mean, I see things having to do with abortion rights and with LGBT rights and voters' rights that are affecting the minority communities. And I'm sitting here like, why are you attacking me? Why are you attacking my people in all of these places where there's an intersection of my identity? Last night, I heard about this and I was like, you know what? Let me look at the countries where I can just escape, because it is that much pressure sometimes when you really think about it. Like, I can't go to another state and it's a little easier.
What's interesting too is that minorities, or let me rephrase that, non-white folks are actually outnumbering white folks in this country. And it seems as an effort from the white community to not lose power is that we suppress those that we consider less than. So if you're LGBT or you're a person of color, you're more likely to be subjected to that because they feel like they can push that back, they can stay in control. And that's what we saw with Trump.
Absolutely, and it's more than a white thing, it's a conservative thing.
Yes, you're
right.
right.
And it's about creating an enemy, creating someone to fear, someone that has to be the scapegoat for everything that's happening politically. So it's really not even personal. They're not thinking about people. They're not thinking about specific identities or communities. They're thinking we need to create some kind of monster that we all fear so we can potentially win an election in a few years.
That's horrible. Literally, when you think about what political parties are supposed to do and how certain politicians play to the party lines and all that, I'm like, why? End of the day, you are a public servant and you were supposed to serve me. You were supposed to serve the people of your districts. Why don't you care about every single one of them? Why do you only care about
You know, it's interesting to me because I wouldn't have said this in 2016. I wouldn't have said it in 18. I don't even think I would have said it in 2020. The answer to your question is so shocking to me that I'm getting ready to say this is the exact same conversation that was taking place in 1937 and 38 in Germany.
Yeah.
And it is a situation where we move beyond the why and really become more concerned about the outcome of what is actually happening, because we can't ask why anymore because it's just a fact, and it's 1938 in Germany.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about Kentucky. Glenn, you're going to tell us about another place in the world that seems to be alike Union, Kentucky.
Well, thank you for the lead-in for the next segment. So let's queer up the world. Lawmakers say the city's airport code is too queer. G-A-Y airport, gay airport. The city of Gaya in India is a popular destination for tourists on religious pilgrimages, as it is the city where it is believed that Buddha achieved enlightenment. Last week, the Parliament's Committee on Public Undertakings has argued that the current airport code for the city, gay, is inappropriate for the sacred Indian city, and asked the government to make all efforts to change this code. Their suggestion: change the code from gay to YAG. So the city is Gaia, or Gaia. If you reverse it, Ayag.
I'm
so
sorry. Well, it's Gaia. The city is
Gaia, G-A-Y-A.
Oh, okay. I'm going to call it Gaia.
So yeah,
I mean,
they say Gaia, but it's
if Buddha achieved enlightenment at GAY, I also achieved a degree of enlightenment at GAY in London.
That's a great club, by the way. I love that club. I love your joke, too. You teach in India. Does this surprise you that a political organization would say, we're concerned that GAY has some reflection on our city?
Well, India is interesting to me. I've only been to Mumbai, but as a country, it has just as many kind of counterintuitive, logical progressions as we do, if not more. I mean, they're dealing with, many different religious groups, many different languages, many different classes, and all of that comes together that I don't know how they govern it, let alone let these social policy things work themselves out.
Before we move on, I just want to do a shout out to the entire LGBTQ world, and I hope Gaia India is listening. I call on the entire LGBTQ world to visit Gaia because exclusively they are the gay airport. That's the reason why we always try.
I'd want that stamp on my passport. Field trip. We'll be reporting next week live.
On that note, let's queer up the world. Iran executes 2 gay men accused of forcible sodomy. The human rights activist news agency, or Hrana, reported that Mehrdad Karimpour, aged 32, and Fareed Muhammadi were executed on Thursday after spending years on death row in Maragay Central Prison. The men were arrested 6 years ago for forcible sodomy and later sentenced to death. Under Iranian law, forcible sodomy is defined as non-consensual sexual intercourse, but under the country's laws, even consensual sex between 2 men is punishable by death.
Damn.
Wow.
What do you say to that?
Right.
Oh, I can say that right.
I want to make sure before we begin our conversation on this story, they liberalized the interpretation of a rape law in Iran to define their sexual encounter with each other to fall into that category, which could then justify putting them to death. That's
It being a crime, absolutely.
It may
Right.
become a crime to that level of punishment.
Because it was mutually agreed sex. It wasn't because they're saying you're rape.
Yeah.
No.
They just changed the wording to make
What do
it
we
work.
think about what's going on in Iran?
I mean, all over the Middle East, there are these archaic laws that they're pulling on to just kind of to demonize us. It's not that far from what we're actually doing here in the States, right? I mean, we're not putting people to death, but we're certainly dismissing them as people.
Erasing
Erasing them, yeah.
community.
Like we'll talk about the book burning and the no say gay and all of that's happening right here.
I'm curious, are you surprised that even our own community is not, like this story and last Thursday, them being put to death. Are you surprised that even in our own community here in America, we're not talking more about what's going on in Iran, that they could do something like this? Because you hear very little. Since Thursday, there has been very little conversation in the LGBTQ community in America. And it's not a question of, well, we don't know. It's a question of we're not paying attention. Does that
I think in
surprise
general,
you?
historically, the United States doesn't really care what happens in other countries. We have, for many, many years, maintained that isolationist point of view, even to the point where we didn't want to get involved in World Wars I or II. And we were sort of kind of forced in at the end.
Do you all agree with that observation?
Absolutely. You know, for me, one of the first times that I traveled internationally and watched international news and saw that they were covering things happening all around the world, I was shocked by that. Because we are very, very just focused on us. We don't really care about everyone else.
I would totally agree, because I see that also when I travel abroad. I'm like, oh my God, like they're talking about things in countries I may never have even heard of.
Absolutely.
And it's huge stories that we choose just to be insular and talk about ourselves and what we're doing, but we don't really focus a lot on
That's
it.
a great challenge for Queer News Tonight, first, I tell you. Let me ask it in a different way. Would we be paying attention to this more if it was going on in Afghanistan as opposed to Iran? Or worse, God forbid that I tear a scab wound open, if this went on in Cuba? Would we then pay attention? 2 gay men are put to death in Cuba for having consensual sex. All of the people... Would it be important then to LGBT here?
I don't know.
It would be important in Florida and in South Florida specifically because of the great Cuban population. But other than that, probably not.
Peoria doesn't care.
Right.
Right. And it's not really being reported in those places.
It would resonate here more for us. And I think that we also have to look at the fact that in America, it was illegal for two men to have sex. And it took someone actually fighting against that law for things to change. And I don't know a lot of folks who actually know their queer history to know that. But when we look outside and look at other countries, it's like, oh wow, they're doing this. We're so shocked. And honestly, I think it also comes a little bit from a place of privilege for us.
Our privilege, yeah.
We like sensational news more than we like factual news.
Well, in America.
Welcome to Queer News Tonight.
Right, exactly.
We're going to change the world.
We have a lot going on in our schools here in America. And Sobourney, why don't you tell us about that?
Yes. Let's queer up education. GOP bill bans teachers speaking about LGBTQ because it, quote, offends Christian values, end quote. House Bill 800, introduced by Tennessee Representative Bruce Griffey, would ban textbooks or instructional materials that, quote, promote, normalize, support, or address LGBT issues or lifestyle, end quote. Griffey even wrote that into the very text of the bill, stating, quote, whereas the promotion of LGBT issues and lifestyles in public schools offends a significant portion of students, parents, and Tennessee residents with Christian values. That's me very much playing. But of course, Griffey tried to pass this bill. It was the same exact bill in 2021, although it failed at that time. Queer News Tonight would like to point out the very first words of the amendment, of the First Amendment. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, end quote.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Well, and then just remind us too of those Christian principles, which are, judge not, let you be judged, turn the other cheek.
Wait, don't use Bible verses again. Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
It's always upsetting to think about the fact that you have values that are thrown at you, specifically religious values, when, especially in the Christian faith, you were taught that you should love thy fellow man. Like, we should show compassion to each other. Like, we are out of the first or Old Testament where it was all fire, brimstone. It's New Testament time where we're supposed to be showing that support of each other. What is it that's offending the Christian values? I really want to know, what exactly is it, and what does it have to do with you as a person, as an adult? Like, children need to have that ability to grow, to experience new things, and they're not always going to get that in the home. That's where schools come into play. That's why some people don't even send their kids to college, because the liberal views are going to change them. And yes, I said that. I just realized I said that on
I think, Al, your replacement is right there.
I'm all for it.
Gosh,
Yes.
are we so impressed? Bruce Giffey, let me tell you a positive thing. You were invited to come to Queer News Tonight tomorrow, if you will, because we'll give you the platform to be able to explain this. We're showing his picture. Oh. We want you to come to Queer News Tonight. I want you to be able to explain this.
And I want to see your picture on Grindr.
It's, well...
You're going to click on it?
Here's the bad news. You probably will. Because internalized homophobia from the uber Christian perspective, that's frequently what we find out happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bruce Griffey, the bad news is the reason why you won't come on Queer News Tonight is what I'm getting ready to say. You're an idiot. And the reason you're an idiot is because you could use the exact same language of your bill, House Bill 800 in Tennessee, as we've already discussed it, 1937 in Nazi Germany. You would justify the exact same position of minimizing communication about the Jewish faith in Germany. Oh, wait. You could be in your town in Tennessee in 1958 and do the exact same thing in Tennessee or Selma, Alabama, to say the exact same thing on why you can't talk about black people in your schools. And both justifications, which you may feel as extreme, are exact justifications of why you'll never come on Queer News Tonight, because you can't defend this.
Just upsetting.
Let's continue queering up politics. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis supports Don't Say Gay. Watch this.
We've seen instances of students being told by different folks in school, oh, don't worry, don't pick your gender yet, do all this other stuff. They won't tell the parents about these discussions that are happening. That is entirely inappropriate. And schools need to be teaching kids to read, to write. They need to teach them science, history. We need more civics, understanding the U.S. Constitution and what makes our country unique. All this basic stuff to get into situations where you're not having the parent, you're hiding things from the parent, you're injecting these concepts about choosing your gender, that is just inappropriate for our schools. And so I don't support that going on. I don't think it's going on in large numbers, but I'll tell you, since this debate has started, people have reported to me, that this has happened in areas that you would not expect it, to happen. And so we want to make sure that our schools are really focusing on the basics. We don't want them to be engines to be putting things like the CRT that we've talked about, things that are divisive and are not accurate, of course, when you start talking about some of the stuff that they're teaching with it.
My favorite governor, Ron DeSantis, appeared at a press event yesterday speaking out in support of the new Don't Say Gay bill that has passed the Florida House. He said it was entirely inappropriate for educators to discuss sexuality and gender identities with students. At the press event, he said, quote, "Schools need to be teaching kids to read, to write. They need to teach them science, history. We need more civics and understanding of the U.S. Constitution, what makes our country unique, and all those basic things," end quote. Love that he can use a pronoun like things. Apparently, he missed the lesson on the Constitution, the history of civil rights movement, and other things that make this country unique.
We have breaking news, by the way. Production has just informed me, Tai, while you were doing this story, that the president of Yale University is on the phone saying, please do not reveal that he is an undergraduate of Yale University.
With a history degree.
Yeah. Production is also informing me now that the president of Harvard University is on the phone to please not mention that he is a graduate of the Harvard Law School. Those two facts are impossible with the person that was just speaking. And the last thing, I think about this, it's so beyond unbelievable, is how is it possible that we would listen to this candidate trying to run for president in 2024 be worse than the last president we had? But it's beginning to appear that that's what's forming.
This is why I'm trying to leave America. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it.
You would leave SunServe.
I love SunServe, and I can figure out how to work from home. I mean, I work from home sometimes anyways, if I can work from another country.
We'll figure it out. All right, you heard the ED say that. All right. What do y'all think about the governor?
So here's the thing. The Republican Party has totally screwed up education in Florida since the Bush governorship, right? They have done nothing but undercut education and reduce its value for our state. We've gone from being basically dead last to basically next to dead last. So we're the penultimate state in poor education. Look that one up, Ronnie. The point here is we do need to help our students do better in high school with all of those subjects. But the problem is the Florida Board of Education has said if you graduate from a Florida school, you're automatically college ready. They're not. They're in my class, right? I can tell you right now they're not. And I have to, and not that, I mean, I love my job and I love my students, but I have to kind of bend over backwards and try and find ways of helping these very deserving students overcome years of bad education in order to get a college degree.
That's a fantastic observation. I've never heard that before.
No, there's so much ignorance that comes out of the Florida school system. While, yes, I'm a product of the South Florida school system, I did very well. A lot of the things that I learned about the queer community, about even the Black community, which is very sad to say as an African American, I learned from, not in school, they taught me very whitewashed history. They did not teach me a lot other than like a little blurb on gay or Black, like once a month I get something, but I learned it in school. Like I said, I went to Broward College, I went to FIU, I went to FAU, and there's so much knowledge there. Why is it that in the schools, when the children are growing up, they aren't being taught that? They aren't even being taught basic life skills.
Tony, you were an advocate as the executive director of SAVE for years, so you understand the politics Sobourney's question, we can get a reasonable or to superior education in our colleges in Florida, but we can't seem to get it in our public schools. Why is that? From your seat in advocacy, what was going on?
Well, I think that Tai is absolutely right. Everything has become so incredibly politicized. And even our education agenda for years has been politicized. What I find really insulting about this story is that the governor is talking about an issue that doesn't exist, and he admits to it in his address.
Exactly.
He's like, I don't know that this is really happening a whole lot, but let's spend hours and hours writing a bill, proposing a bill, developing all of this media attention around the bill.
For what purpose?
Just for political reasons, just to be able to, again, fearmonger and get people to vote for him, because people are going to somehow think that he's some kind of savior against everything that is bad. And unfortunately, LGBTQ people, LGBTQ issues, the marginalized communities, the transgender community, black and brown folks are all the monsters that we are supposed to fear as white people. And I did say yes. I said that I was white myself.
And it's almost like a don't ask, don't tell. As long as we don't talk about it, it's fine. So don't say anything, that way everyone remains ignorant and you can't make wise decisions. Because the only thing you've been taught is this one side and not all sides. And once you are able to delve and go into higher education, you're learning it, but it's almost too late at some points for a lot of people that it's been set in their brain from early on. This is the way you think. And it's hard to undo that from a lot of people.
There's another element to all of this, right? Like, and we've learned this through the pandemic. People hear what they want to hear.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the biggest issues. Like, people will take from his address, they will say, oh my God, we have to fear this. This is absolutely happening in schools. They'll miss the part that he said, this really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I got to follow up in terms of asking clarification. This sounds to what you've put out there. George Bush in 2000, that's what his campaign focused on, and LGBT was a big focus point of rejection of LGBT, and it was successful against Gore. He didn't win the majority, but he won where it counted, which ultimately was in the Supreme Court and Florida. The situation, we thought in 2004 he was less on the issue of LGBT. By 2008, even in the Republicans, it was basically gone. 12, it wasn't an issue. Marriage equality becomes the rule of law. Trump comes in 16, and it seems like a pendulum starts to swing backwards to where we are now in 2022, where we're back to being the target. Black, LGBT, trans students, we're back to being the boogeyman that we experienced in 2000, 22 years later.
To Tony's point, it's about the next election. And so if I can rally everyone against to hate a group, I can get more people to support me because you become evil. And I think one of the things that's happened is in this state, we've had so many nonprofits come about, like SunServe and others, that Pride Centers, things like that, that are now the education source, because if there's no other place to get this information, and you hear about like kids for like Pride lines, these kids that have been thrown out of their home, they've never been taught sexual education, to have pride in their body of who they are, and so they end up on the streets, you know. And then you go back to what I do is with that HIV education. If they're not taught about sexual education, you can't make good decisions. You find yourself HIV positive and your world turning because you didn't even know the word AIDS existed. You don't even know what HIV is. So how do you fear it if you don't know it exists?
Yeah, wow. Well, Sobourney, you're gonna have to center yourself
Bring
and
us
move
back.
us on. Right?
Bring us back. Goodness gracious, I'm going to admit it is ticking me off, but we are going to move forward. We have a lot more to get through. So that is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus every week since January 6, 2020. Tonight we report that as of today, more than 5,485,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 65,000 LGBTQ plus Americans that have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving, because as of today, more than 543 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
That is our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
My name is Jasmine Price Lords, Florida Mother of the House of Lords, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Love Jasmine. All right, well, we finished tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus Flash News.
So, first up on LGBTQ plus Flash News, gay man throws a book in pastor's book burning. It was the Bible. Pastor Greg Locke of Global Vision Bible Church in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, leads his Facebook page with biblical preaching, extravagant generosity, radical compassion. Apparently, that compassion doesn't extend to anyone with viewpoints other than his own, as he led a book burning last week. Congregants burned books that included Disney stories, seriously? For the company's acceptance of LGBTQ plus individuals and the Harry Potter series for promoting witchcraft. On his video posted to YouTube, counter-protester Chris Harden said, quote, "Husband and I went to a book burning in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, Thursday, before joining atheist and pagan counter-protesters across the street playing Highway to Hell and Harry Potter on a projector. Video of us as my husband throws a Bible in and declared he was serving Darwin's Origin of the Species and Fahrenheit 451 as he held them up to the crowd. It took him shouting, 'I burned a Bible,' several times before they stopped cheering and realized they'd been had. They aggressively threw us out, but we had a chance to discuss them with a kiss before we left. Watch this."
Burn the Bible! Woo! Keeping my copy of Darwin's Origin of Species in Fahrenheit 451! Woohoo! Praise Satan! Woohoo! Hail Satan! Hail to his strength and power! Woo! And I'm immune to your rebuke! Hail Satan!
That had to be the ultimate Scooby-Doo moment for those protesters when they went, "What? What just happened?"
I love that they got a chance to discuss them with the kiss, because the last time I saw a disgusting kiss was from Al Ferguson.
Oh!
Do you have video of that?
That was a
Shade,
snap.
shade is shade.
Awesome.
It is.
Wow. It's like I threw my voice across the room.
I won't lie though, all of that hate, all of that vitriol is very bad for the soul, and I feel like I need a cleansing. I need to go find someone to do that for me.
I have no idea what y'all are talking about. I loved that because as I was watching that, I was thinking, I love a good romantic comedy, and I have watched Footloose at least 35 times. Oh wait, that wasn't Footloose?
That was Footloose.
You know, I love that there's people like this in places like Mount Juliet that come out and protest this ridiculousness. What else can we call it? So
Ignorance.
Kudos to you and thanks for the kiss. LGBTQ plus Flash News. Celebrity stylist sued for telling gay employee tone down the gayness. Christina Ehrlich, a celebrity stylist known for working with Margot Robbie, Penelope Cruz, and Tina Fey, and her company Little White Dog Inc., are being sued for $1 million for allegations of anti-gay discrimination. Kevin Erickson's lawsuit claims that Ehrlich subjected Erickson to a hostile work environment based on sexual orientation, and that she made comments that were offensive and or unwelcome. Ehrlich is accused of telling Erickson to tone the gay down and accusing him to trying to form a gay alliance against her. The lawsuit also accuses Ehrlich of mistreating Erickson in front of clients like Brie Larson, Priyanka Chopra, Tina Fey, and Uzo Aduba. What a great story. Like, I don't even know what else to say about this other than what a great story. Like, this is what should be happening in the fashion world in one way, shape, or form.
A gay alliance.
This is why I do my own makeup now.
Really, you did a great job today.
Thank you.
Do you really think so?
Kind of pre-production, we were discussing asking Tony Lima to tone it down, but we decided it would be too ironic.
My makeup is flawless, I'll have you know.
No, just all of this. I'm more so upset at the fact that she's like, okay, they're trying to set up a gay alliance against me. I'm like, you don't want a gay alliance and you're a celebrity stylist? That sounds
right. Girl, get it together.
Exactly.
You know, I don't believe this story. Penelope Cruz, Tina Fey, come on. I know y'all are amazing advocates to our community. If there's any truth to this and you've heard it, you need to come out and say it. I don't believe this story. The second reason I don't believe this story is we're talking about a hair salon. I don't care how schmancy fancy you are, we're talking about a hair salon. And that is the gayest place on planet Earth.
Exactly. That's
Except
where the
for
gay
here.
alliance. That's where the gay alliances meet, right there.
Right.
Like, that's where they are.
That's where
at hair
Stonewall
salons.
start. Oh, wait.
No,
wait.
that was the Stonewall.
Maybe not. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not that far. LGBTQ plus flash news. Oof, I've been waiting to tell this. The L Word Gen Q renewed for season 3. Yeah, that was a little loud, sorry. Ever since the L Word Generation Q season ended last October, the ladies have been waiting for more. While Showtime had been quiet on a renewal, they posted a video on Twitter just a few days ago with the caption, quote, "New bio, besties," end quote. The same day, Jacqueline Sobourney, who plays Sarah on the show, posted an image of the cast on Instagram with the caption, quote, "The gang is back, hashtag season 3, hashtag the L word, hashtag Gen Q." I have no words except I love this show, and I'm going to find a way to watch it for free. I'm sorry, I'm not paying for that subscription.
I have no words. The L word? The L word? Really?
What?
Okay, I'm only playing.
I'm glad there's a reboot and that people of Sobourney's generation are really excited about it, because I loved the L word the first time around. So if there's an L word to connect with now, that's amazing. Stop that. I see where you're going with that, Al Ferguson.
I'm leaving it on the table.
Just leave it there.
I'm just
Put
leaving
it
there.
put it away.
Put it away. Put it away.
I think the only reason they did a season 3 is because they're feeling the pressure from the Faye Watch show.
Oh,
That's what it is.
Good point.
Yeah.
wait, is Faye a lesbian? Oh, never mind.
No.
Who's Faye?
I want to know who changes the sheets.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, there we go. That's all I needed in this show.
Okay, let's carry on and we'll queer up flash news. Olly Alexander and Savage X Fenty show hot lingerie pics. Pop superstar Rihanna has made a fortune by creating a diverse group of brands. And one of our favorites here at Queer News Tonight is the body and gender positive Savage X Fenty fashion line. For Valentine's Day, they partnered with Olly Alexander, also known as the voice behind Years and Years, to promote a special line of romantic looks for men like Tony Lima. Olly is known for his gender-bending fashion and for being openly gay since a young age. This project seems like a match made in gay heaven. I've seen those images, and I just got to say, baby, I know what you're getting for Thanksgiving. I know what you're getting for Valentine's Day.
Just all of it. But no, Queen Riri can do no wrong in my eyes. So I love this. I'm looking forward to it, and I will be spending a lot of money this weekend.
You know, I think what's outstanding about this story is the body positivity of the images. So often, especially among gay men, we focus on perfection imaging that only 1% of our community represents. This is a very positive representation for Valentine's Day. I love it.
So thank you, Tai Houser, for the little kudos. I am wearing Savage X Fenty underwear right now.
Seriously?
Prove
I
it. I need
swear to you.
proof.
I will show you after.
Oh.
But I love this brand because it's affordable, it's sexy, and it fits me well. And I would say that everyone should be watching every year when Rihanna launches the new line, she has a special show on Amazon Prime. And the fashion shows show the diversity that's intended for the brand.
You know, I have to tell you, one of the reasons why what you just said is so good is as a black woman embracing our community from Barbados in the Caribbean. And they have not been the best in the Caribbean or in the world in terms of embracement of LGBT, and she has stood up over and over again. I love that.
Now we're back to my last sentence.
And she's a RuPaul fan.
Yeah.
She has RuPaul queens in the shows every year.
Yeah.
First,
you go ahead over into the corner and talk among yourselves.
First, I thought that you were calling yourself a black lesbian.
I thought
That confused me too as they inferred that
oh,
thing.
That's new.
And second, the really exciting thing is they had that harness in your size, and I ordered.
Wait, so my size?
Well, you're not a size 2.
Oh, that is true.
Wow.
And
Wait, are we talking about the harness?
One more thing. I'm
Just the
curious,
harness.
because I'm going to get asked over and over again. What kind of underwear are you wearing?
Briefs.
Briefs.
They're briefs. They're printed briefs, but they're really comfortable.
Wait.
They're.
Ooh, they're short.
I may just take my pants off right now and show everyone.
Show me.
Nope.
On that note, Sobourney's here. On that note, that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
I like you, Glenn.
Aw.
You'll like me even more in that outfit I bought you.
Harness.
But I didn't get your panties to match.
Don't the harness have to like attach the panties?
No.
Did we
They attach to other things.
At what point did the train go off the tracks for Queer News?
Just
Tonight?
before Sobourney was.
Yep, right where the
Right
Got
when
it.
it started. Got it.
So everybody, if you enjoyed this, please post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
I'm picturing you in the classroom with that voice right now. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Tony Lima, Glen Weinzimer, Sobourney Barnes, and Dr. Tai Houser. We will see you daily at 8 p.m.
Good night.
Monday, the City Commission of Union, Kentucky voted against a proposed LGBTQ plus rights ordinance. The ordinance would protect LGBTQ plus individuals from discrimination in housing, employment, and public establishments. Commissioner Brian Garner, who proposed the ordinance, was the only one who voted for it. Mayor Larry Solomon and Commissioners Eric Delaney and Jeremy Ramage voted against it. Chris Hartman, Executive Director of the Fairness Campaign, which promotes fairness ordinances across Kentucky, described the vote as, well, you got it, sad and disheartening, but said he doesn't think this is the end of fairness discussions in Union. Hartman said this is the first time he's seen a local Republican Party put out an official statement against fairness ordinances, and he thinks pressure from the Boone County Republican Party led to the commissioner's votes against it. Wow.
Well, so in the article, as I was reading it, one of the commissioners actually abstained from the vote, and I think that's even worse than voting against it, because you're basically saying, I don't have the balls to take an opinion on this, or I'm just waiting for someone to scratch my back later in the political season.
Or scratch something.
Yeah.
He said no matter which way he voted, he was going to upset somebody, so he chose not to vote.
Right.
So you don't know what his opinion is.
And this isn't a coincidence. These kinds of bills are popping up at the local level, left and right. This is all part of a greater conservative agenda to fight against all of the rights and the protections that we have currently. So Boone County is not going to be the only county pushing this into their municipalities. We're going to see a lot more of this happening in the next several months.
Sobourney, I want to ask specifically you. I mean, you're in the triple check box of the need for local ordinance protection. You're a woman, you're black, and you're lesbian. What do you think when a city commission says, wait, you're not important enough to protect? Because that's in essence what they're saying.
Well, first, of course, more queer demisexual than lesbian, but
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
No,
Okay.
it's upsetting because literally you're targeting minority communities, and it's like, what for? Why are you further demonizing us? Why is it that we're not afforded the same protections? I mean, I see things having to do with abortion rights and with LGBT rights and voters' rights that are affecting the minority communities. And I'm sitting here like, why are you attacking me? Why are you attacking my people in all of these places where there's an intersection of my identity? Last night, I heard about this and I was like, you know what? Let me look at the countries where I can just escape, because it is that much pressure sometimes when you really think about it. Like, I can't go to another state and it's a little easier.
What's interesting too is that minorities, or let me rephrase that, non-white folks are actually outnumbering white folks in this country. And it seems as an effort from the white community to not lose power is that we suppress those that we consider less than. So if you're LGBT or you're a person of color, you're more likely to be subjected to that because they feel like they can push that back. They can stay in control. And that's what we saw with Trump.
Absolutely, and it's more than a white thing, it's a conservative thing.
Yes, you're
right.
right.
It's about creating an enemy, creating someone to fear, someone that has to be the scapegoat for everything that's happening politically. So it's really not even personal. They're not thinking about people. They're not thinking about specific identities or communities. They're thinking we need to create some kind of monster that we all fear so we can potentially win an election in a few years.
That's horrible. Literally, when you think about what political parties are supposed to do and how certain politicians play to the party lines and all that, I'm like, why? End of the day, you are a public servant and you were supposed to serve me. You were supposed to serve the people of your district. Why don't you care about every single one of them? Why do you only care about
You know, it's interesting to me because I wouldn't have said this in 2016. I wouldn't have said it in 18. I don't even think I would have said it in 2020. The answer to your question is so shocking to me that I'm getting ready to say this is the exact same conversation that was taking place in 1937 and 38 in Germany. Yeah. And it is a situation where we move beyond the why and really become more concerned about the outcome of what is actually happening, because we can't ask why anymore because it's just a fact, and it's 1938 in Germany.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth